Let's go to line number 2. Good morning, Cabot. Martin, you're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How are you?
Very well this morning, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good man. So, as I've promoted yesterday and just discussed before we went to the break, you've chosen to bring in an experienced engineer to discuss the North Spur issue. Stieg Bernander is the gentleman's name. He'll be here on October 30th at the LSPU Hall. Why bring him in, Cabot?
Well, you know, this, first of all, it's an extremely important issue, all right? And as with all technical type issues, you know, there is the need to have someone come and explain in sort of expert but plain language, you know, what are the issues, and you know, what is the right way to, in his view, to approach the problem, right? And Dr. Bernander is he's very careful always to say that, you know, he's not saying it can't be done. He's basically saying, you know, this is the proper way. These are the issues, and this is the proper way to examine it, right? So it's public information. It's not about environmental issues or social issues or anything. It's a straightforward technical thing, bringing the issue down to a level, I guess, where everybody can get their minds around it.
I'm glad to hear you say that he hasn't deemed it impossible, which people were telling me at one point that it was absolutely impossible and shouldn't even be attempted. Has Dr. Bernander been privy to Nalcor's specific plans for stabilization at the North Spur? Is he talking from his experience, generalities of projects in the past?
He has examined what is on the public records, you know, from Nalcor. And you know, so he, I would say, be addressing that level of information. But he's also, you know, Dr. Bernander is probably the world's leading authority on quick-way landslides, and has done very significant research work lately, which is, you know, accepted in places like Quebec and Sweden and increasingly in Norway. On the operational level, sort of landslide prediction, that kind of thing. So, you know, he's bringing a real host of expertise to it, and I'm delighted. And we're getting good response. There's still some tickets left. His name is spelled, in fact, what your colleague pointed out, we spelled his name wrong. Bernander, lecture @gmail.com. And tickets are free, and they just email in, make a request, and we'll put you on the list, and hopefully we're not sold out by the time you put it in. It should be a very, very interesting session, and Dr. Bernander will, of course, be taking questions and answers.
Yeah, Conor Bryan invited me, so I'm going to be in attendance. My name is on the bill. I'm looking forward to hearing from him, because, I mean, as you know, and you and I have discussed the Muskrat Falls project many times at different components of it, including the North Spur, and I know that you've done significant research and presented on it yourself. Have you reached out to Nalcor yourself, Cabot, to discuss the specifics of any facet of the project, specifically the North Spur, which you've been so focused on for so long?
You know, I mean, my views are on record, and if Nalcor want to engage me, they're fully, there are process, there's a PUB process, in which these will be debated into, in a formal, process, so I think that's the proper forum for actual ongoing, relations with Nalcor.
You wouldn't see the benefit?
They might hopefully they know about this, and they always tune into your program, so I imagine if any representative of Nalcor, I'd be disappointed if no one from Nalcor shows up, actually.
Well, and I think, you know, they may. I have no earthly idea what they're going to do on this front, but you don't see the benefit in yourself to have some of your concerns addressed, maybe some additional information that could be shared in a closed room setting at Nalcor? You don't see the benefit yourself?
No, I hate these Nalcor closed room sessions.
No, what I mean, just, you know.
I like the cold light of day, like the PUB, yeah. I think, quite frankly, there's been too much, how would you say, these private meetings, these one-on-one tete-a-tetes and all the rest of it. So, I down it. Listen, Nalcor can come down to the LSPU all they want, but you know, but there's a process, a PUB process, which is probably even more interesting, where As I understand it, their experts will be under oath and cross-examined. So that'll be an even more interesting exchange, right?
Cabot, and fair enough. Up until this point of the project, as we've seen some fiscal updates, rollout, benefits reports, all that type of stuff, some of the concerns at the beginning of the project, how do you view how the project has progressed? I know a lot of your problem was with the need, ultimately, the business model, that kind of stuff. But given what we know about the project's progress up until now, how do you characterize it?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, it's an unmitigated disaster. I mean, when we sat down and looked at this, and I personally looked at it, several years ago. I guess it's going on over 3 years ago. You sort of looked at, what are the two biggest risks to this project? Number one, on the financial side, it was the price of oil. And we all know what that's doing. It's going down, in this 135, this mythical 135 is ludicrous in today's thinking. So that's one big risk.
Well,
the other physical risk? The physical risk to the problem is definitely the North Spur. That is if there's an engineering challenge, and I certainly think it is an engineering challenge, whether they can come up with something. I can't imagine what they're going to do, but I mean, Dr. Benander is a competent professional.
But if he says it's not impossible, it must be possible, and we have access to professionals.
He didn't know. Please be careful with his words.
You said that.
He's saying no. He's saying, I'm not saying it's not impossible, because I have not seen the stuff that Nalcor will not make public. The Grand River Keepers requested the PUB, asked at the PUB that the basic documents that have been locked away since Nalcor and Hydro since 1965 sometime, that they be made public so we can see what they're basing their decision on.
These are the landslide assessments?
There were a whole bunch of landslide assessments. Well, they're not landslides; they're stability and leading to landslides. These go back to 1965, and they will not make them public. They resisted in the PUB. They tried, and successfully actually got them cut out as documents to be made public, right? But there has not been a full disclosure of the information on which they're basing their decision and their plan to go forward. That's why Bernander says, listen, I need to see the information. Based on what I see right now, I'll let him say what he's going to say about it.
Just a couple more things, Cabot, before we move on. What leads you to believe that Nalcor and Newfoundland Labrador Hydro would attempt to stabilize this quick clay at the North Spur? Because this is not a business model thing. If it can't be done and the dam's integrity is in jeopardy, so the investment will be lost, lives potentially lost downstream, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. That's the actual result that has been portrayed by you and others if and when the dam gives away because of the North Spur. Why would you think that Nalcor would proceed if they didn't have a plan that they thought manageable, professional, workable, manageable, that can be done to stabilize the dam, the investment, and the lives downstream? Why would they go down that road if they couldn't achieve those very fundamental benchmarks?
I think there are many cases of this in the engineering field, and once you start off with a plan, and people get wedded to those concepts, there is a natural human resistance to change, and so I think that this is a project that got started without the engineering being done. I mean, they're still doing their engineering. I mean, they put a feasibility study before the PUB, in which they said pumping the water was going to be the savior. Right? Oh, we can pump the water and this thing is not going to collapse. In the plan they're using now, that's all more or less forgotten. Now they're going to put out these cut-off walls that are going to keep the water from coming through the spur, right? So
okay.
The design is changing as it's going, which is an admission that the initial plan that was put before the PUB wasn't the correct one.
Well, when they got to when they got into the full engineering portion of the project, you're right. Things have shifted, the different angles, the powerhouse has been moved, that kind of stuff, and that's real.
They shifted the powerhouse. They shifted the powerhouse by a half a kilometer.
But it goes back to my original question, though. I mean, even if they reconsidered the engineering and the geotechnical work, and when they found how this would be the best plan or this angle for the powerhouse, all that stuff, are you saying that they're willfully jeopardizing the investment in lives downstream because they're narrowly focused on the project and completion, though? Because you can't really have it both ways here, though, sir. It can be done or it can't, impossible or not, costly or not, legitimate or not. It can't be, well, they're just so focused that they are willing to lose the investment and kill people. Seriously.
You cannot cut off the rational examination of engineering process, on a project on the basis that these people, surely they're good people. Well, that would stop any examination of anything. We would never...
No. That's oversimplified.
Would propose, because obviously you must be wrong because they're nice people.
No. But no one said that, though, Cabot. Right? Nobody said that. You said that their focus has been just on completing the project come hell or high water, purposefully chosen phrase. So that would constitute the...
I didn't say their focus on... You quoting me, and I didn't say hell or high water.
Well, then why would they continue?
There's a natural tendency in all these projects that have been examined where the group gets wedded to the concept that their engineering concept, and if you want a classic example of this, read Power from the North by Robert Barassa, where he discusses and details the division between the engineers on where they should go, Rupert's River or the Grand River. And when even after they found out there was quick clay at Rupert's River, that people who were pushing that were resistant. They had to bring in an outside guy from the States who was not to be involved any further with the project, and he was the one who said, listen, you got a big problem with quick clay at Rupert's River, you got to go to Grand River. And sure enough, Quebec Hydro accepted that recommendation, and Team A idea was dropped and Team B idea was adopted.
But you think Nalcor would be unwilling to do that exact thing when they found out through more extensive research and engineering and geotechnical work that if it couldn't be done, they wouldn't do it, as opposed to just doing it?
In that case, the Team A weren't bad people.
No, this is not about personalities, though, Gavin. This is about the integrity of the dam.
That happened. There were engineers who became champions of their concept. And when an outsider pointed out A, B, C, and D, the management said, I'm sorry, Team A, we're going with Team B. That happens all the time. These are not clear-cut, bad guys, good guys.
No, it's got nothing to do with good guy, bad guy. It's got to do with competence and integrity and legitimate approach to engineering and everything else. So, a couple of quick ones before we run out of time, sir. When you say that you have not approached Nalcor personally and don't like the thought of a closed-door meeting or exchange of information, people will wonder aloud how that affects your credibility when we're not even discussing with Nalcor, the proponent, and the people who are charged with building the dam, then managing the dam and selling the power. If you haven't sat down with them to get the information from the horse's mouth, so to speak, how can you be putting forward such strict condemnation and or raising these concerns without having dealt with Nalcor directly? I have dealt with Nalcor in innumerable ways. Letters to the editors that have been unanswered. A book that I published, unanswered, no response. No response to a book that where you put it all down in black and white. Not a single. Do you think you'd get a response if you asked them for one?
Isn't publishing a book asking for a response?
No.
Look, there is a PUB process here, right? Mm-hmm. Which is going to hopefully examine the North Spur process. And I will certainly be there listening intently as to their answers in the proper form. I'm not interested in these behind doors and who said what and whatever else. right?
I just don't look, when I look for answers, I look to the people who can provide them. And that's up to you how you approach the Nalcor and this issue, and that's fine, and it's all fine and dandy with me too. So if the PUB approves the plan for the North Spur, does that mean, I'm not going to say does it mean you were wrong, but does it mean that you'll drop it and will accept Nalcor's plan to stabilize that quickly?
If the proper engineers at the PUB said it was okay, yeah, well, I'd certainly have to take that as a very strong indication that thing might be done. Yeah.
And one last issue, sir, is some people are not concerned, people wonder aloud, who was paying Dr. Bernander? Is he coming out of the goodness of his heart? And if he is being paid to come, it's the same criticism that I think sometimes is very flimsy, but it's offered, that if you pay someone to offer their so-called expert opinion, they'll offer the opinion that is the one chosen by the people signing the check. Are you paying Mr. Dr. Bernander to come?
We are paying his expenses.
Okay. And so are you worried about people's perception on the paying the piper type of stuff that we criticize government for all the time? And you know we do. We do it all the time, right?
Listen, that's going to be like water off the duck's back. I know this guy's reputation. This guy has an international reputation for integrity and professionalism.
Oh, I'm not disputing the man.
And I am not, in the face of this, I'm not going to worry about someone saying, you know, who did this and who did that and who paid his ticket over and all the rest of it. The man is a good man, and it's at the LSPU Hall and BernanderLecture@gmail.com. Come one, come all.
Okay, Bernander, public lecture?
Nander, it's a Swedish name. You know.
Yeah, no problem. And I have indeed retweeted the information. If people reach out to me via email, I will provide that as well if they're interested enough to come. For starters, I'm not dismissing who he is because I'm going. If I was dismissing him out of hand, I wouldn't go.
And there will
I couldn't care less who he was, but I'm going. So
there is going to be a meet or greet afterwards with Dr. Bernander, so anybody who has particular concern arising of the lecture or otherwise, they can ask him directly.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to try to get a couple of minutes of the man's time, for sure. And I appreciate your time. Anything else you'd like to say this morning?
Personally, I think, Patty, I think, you know, you have many, many friends from different, diverse parts of society, and I think you'll be intrigued to meet him and talk to him.
I mean, I've been following along and it being as well researched as possible on this Muskrat Falls project. This is no different. If I was dismissing Dr. Bernander, I wouldn't go anywhere handy to the hall, but I'll be there and I'll see you there. And you're welcome to call the program on the heels of his public lecture.
Yes, and you can grill me.
No problem. Cabot, I appreciate your time this morning.
Take care.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye-bye.